Are you ready for the Florida Derby? This is the premier Kentucky Derby prep race. No other prep race has given us 25, count them, 25 Kentucky Derby winners. And with 100 points on the line, this will guarantee a spot in Kentucky Derby 151. 10 horses are heading down to Hallandale Beach, Florida, Gulfstream, one of my favorite tracks, and they're going to compete at the 1.125 distance in order to get into the Kentucky Derby starting gate. Are you ready to find your winner? Facts and figures are going to give you the winning edge. I give you the stats, you make the picks. Hi, it's Maura from Trifecta and a little bit extra, and we're going to go through all 10 horses of the Florida Derby, the pros, the cons, the stats, everything you need to know to find your winner. And don't forget, this weekend is also the Arkansas Derby, and you can find my analysis right here. I also have a video going through all the Kentucky Derby prep races, less than 100 points, and giving you my thoughts on my top 10. Don't have time to listen to the 10 horses here? Well, you can always listen to me on YouTube Music. I'm now a podcast. Also, I've got timestamps below. You just want to hear about one of your favorite horses? Slide to that horse. Now let's get started with some angles. I analyzed the last 10 runnings of the Florida Derby, and here's what I found. Not so much on pace. 5 of the last 10 were 1 on or near the lead, but the other 5 were mid-pack or closers. So just look at the horses in the race, and in this race, it looks like it's going to be a fast pace. Next is preps, and more preps. Not so much there either. 5 were coming out of the Holy Bull or the Fountain of Youth here at Gulfstream, but then you also could have been in a claiming race. Now, I did find 2 angles to pay attention to. The first is, if your name ends with Pletcher, please stand up. He has won 6, count them 6, out of the past 10 runnings of the Florida Derby. And then there's this stat. You had to have won the last race prior to the Florida Derby. There was only 1 horse in the last 10 years that didn't win the race prior, and that was Fierceness last year. And we know about Fierceness, how he was consistently inconsistent. Prior to that, you have to go all the way back to 2012. So there's only 2 horses in this race who have won their last race, and that will be Disruptor and Sovereignty. And who is the trainer of Disruptor? Todd Pletcher. Let's start with the number 1 horse, Neoequous. Neoequous is trained by Joseph Saffie Jr., who tends to dominate Gulfstream and will be ridden by Edgar Zayas. And together they have a 27% win rate. This horse has 6 starts, 2 wins, 2 places, and 1 show. He has always hit the board, and yes, I can count, because we are going to discount the 1 race that he got bumped so hard, he just kind of lost his jockey. He broke his maiden in a 5-furlong, $65,000 maiden race where he blew past the 4-5 favorite and won by over 2 lengths. Then he went up to Stakes Company, 6 furlongs, 7 furlongs, and in both of those races, he came in second behind Rated Merit. Now, if Rated Merit was in this race, he would have one of the top speed ratings. In his 3-year-old debut, he goes down in class to a $54,000 allowance race going 6 furlongs. It was a sloppy track. He was the 1-5 favorite. He set a hot pace and wins by 3 lengths. Then the last time we saw him was in the Fountain of Youth, a 1.125 here at Gulfstream. And in that race, again, with Irad Ortiz aboard, he set a blazing hot pace. Going around the turn, it looked like he may make it to the winner's circle, but River Thames and Sovereignty blew past him and he held 3rd. But his speed rating, his buyer, was 91, and that puts him in the mix with the contenders here. Also, he's got some blazing hot workouts going 58 and change for 5 furlongs. We know he's going to want to get to the lead, but so will Disruptor. And who did Irad choose to ride? Disruptor, not Neoequous. The one question we have here is, can Neoequous get the distance? He's by Neolithic. Every time Neolithic tried the 1.125 distance, he came in 2nd and 3rd, and it doesn't look like his top progeny have also done well past the 1.16 distance. And even Joseph Saffie Jr. has said the big question mark for Neoequous in this race is the distance. His best chance is to make it to the lead. So for that, I'm not so sure about Neoequous. Very talented horse, and I can't wait to see where he shows up next, but he's going to have to prove it to me on Saturday that he can get the 1.125 distance. Moving on to the number 2 horse, we have Cool Intentions. He's trained by Jorge Delgado and will be ridden by Javier Castellano, and together they have a 24% win rate. 4 starts, 2 wins, 1 place, and all 4 starts have been here at Gulfstream. He broke his maiden in a mile race, second time out, and there it looked impressive. He won by 4, but honestly, the horses that he beat that day weren't very classy. Then he goes to a 7 furlong, $61,000 allowance race, and again, he surges to the lead and wins by 2, but also again, the horses he beat, mid-pack. He then shows up in the Mucho Macho Man, and we know the form of that race has not held up. The winner, Guns Loaded, he finished last in the Holy Bull. And the second place finisher, Treaty of Rome, also finished poorly in the Sam F. Davis. How did Cool Intentions do? Finished 5th in a field of 7. So this horse is not top on my list for the Florida Derby. The number 3 horse is Smoken Boy, and Smoken Boy's got a very interesting background. 5 starts with 2 wins and 1 place. His best races were in Puerto Rico at the Quimamero racetrack. There, he had 2 big wins. One was in a 6 furlong race where he won by 6 lengths. Then he went into a grade 1 1.16 and he won by 9 lengths. Now, 2 of his races, he was all gate to wire. But that grade 1 race, he was really patient. He was way in the back, like 6th or 7th, and then coming around the turn, electrifying. Big surge to win by 9 lengths. Then he comes to the U.S., and things have not gone his way. In the Sam F. Davis going 1.16, he was taken way back. He tried to make that one big run, but it didn't work for him. He finishes 8th, 19 lengths behind, with a 53 buyer. Ouch. Then he goes to an allowance race here at Gulfstream. This distance, 1.125. Nothing left in the tank. He finishes 6th with a 68 buyer. He had some good runs in Puerto Rico, but given everything we've seen here in the U.S., again, not on my top list. And now we've come to the horse that's trying to disrupt the leaderboard of the Kentucky Derby. This is your buzz horse of the Florida Derby, the number 4 horse, Disruptor. He is a $1.15 million purchase by Gunrunner. And his trainer, Todd Pletcher, if you missed my beginning, he has won this race 8 times, 6 times in the past 10 years. Insane. And he's got Irad Ortiz aboard, top jockey. 2 starts, only 2 starts, a win and a show. And what a win it was. But first, let's look at his first race. It's Pegasus Cup Day. It's a $94,000 maiden race going 7 furlongs. Disruptor is the 2-5 favorite. He gets out of the gate. He takes control. It's a blazing hot pace. They are going 22 and change for the first quarter. He links up with Bob Mo as he goes around the turn. Then when he gets to the stretch, he gets out chased and he finishes 3rd. The winner of that race is the number 6 horse in this race, Jimmy's Dailies. Now, many horses in that race, they improved their buyer next time out, but nothing like Disruptor did. He went from an 81 buyer to a 92 buyer in his next race. Next stop is another $94,000 race here at Gulfstream going 7 furlongs. And in that race, he had to come out of post position 9. He has to go wide. He sits off the leader. He's like in 3rd position. He takes target on the leader, and as they go around the turn, gets to the lead and wins by a whopping 9 lengths. That's crazy. That 92 buyer that he earned, that puts him in the top with Neoequous and Madaket Road and Sovereignty. So this is a horse you have to pay attention to. Now he's only gone 7 furlongs. Can he get the 1.125? He's by Gunrunner. Gunrunner got the 1.125 and so did his top progeny, Sierra Leone and Cyberknife. So you would think this horse can get the 1.125 distance. Also, he's got the 2 angles I talked about, Todd Pletcher and won his last race. The only thing I want you to note is this time, Lasix is off. And sometimes that impacts performance. Psst, if you found this information useful, hit like, hit subscribe. The number 5 horse is Indecisiveness, trained by Ruben Sierra and ridden by Jorge Ruiz. 4 starts, 1 win, and 1 show. And all 4 starts came here at Gulfstream. His one and only win was a 6.5 furlong maiden race. He then goes to a 6.5 furlong stakes race, the Juvenile Sprint Stakes here at Gulfstream. And there he was bumped at the start and finishes 4th. Then goes into a mile allowance race with 94-1 odds. He's against River Thames. River Thames is on the Kentucky Derby Trail. Again, bumped and finishes 4th. I'm seeing a bit of a pattern with Indecisiveness. He then goes into a mile and an eighths race here at Gulfstream. And there, it actually looked like he could get into contention, but no kick and finishes 3rd. Now, his buyers haven't even topped 80. He's got super fast workouts. He's going 59 and change for 5 furlongs. He is just not putting it together on the track. And for that reason, he won't be in my top for the Florida Derby. The number 6 horse is Jimmy's Dailies. And this is a very interesting horse that I want us to look at. He's trained by Brian Lynch and will be ridden by Joel Rosario. 4 starts, 1 win, 1 place, and 1 show. And he has 3 starts at Gulfstream, and those are the races that I want to look at. So we'll begin with the 7 furlong, $65,000 maiden race in December. There he came in 4th. When he got out of the gate, he went in that lead pack. Now that lead pack, there were a lot of horses there. He then kind of got shuffled back, went over to the rail, and then went 3 to 4 wide to catch back up, but finishes 4th. That race sets him up really well for his next race. It's Pegasus Cup Day. $94,000 main race going 7 furlongs. And guess who's in that race? Disruptor. He gets out of the gate well. He watches Bob Moe and Disruptor just going at it at a very hot pace. There he takes eyes on Disruptor and in the stretch blows past him and wins by a length and a 4th and earns an 85 buyer. Next stop is a $96,000 allowance race, mile and an eighths. This distance, this track. And in that race, he had the rail. He gets out well. He stays on the rail. He sets a good pace. But Grande, the favorite, he was stalking him. And in the end, Grande got the best of him, and Jimmy's Dailies finishes 2nd with an 84 buyer. One thing I want to point out, there are only 3 horses in this race that have gone the mile and an eighths distance. Smoken Boy, Indecisiveness, and Jimmy's Dailies. And the best of those 3 is definitely Jimmy's Dailies. We know he can get the distance. He already got the distance, but he's also by Vekoma, and Vekoma won at the mile and an eighths distance. Now this horse will have to increase his speed, but he's a very interesting horse to watch on Saturday. The number 7 horse has a very cool name, Enterdadragon. Enterdadragon is trained by Jose D'Angelo and will be ridden by Dylan Davis. And together, they have a 27% win rate. Now, Enterdadragon is the most experienced horse in the field with 9 starts, 2 wins, 1 place, and 1 show. And 7 starts were on the turf. His first win came in his 3rd start, a mile and 70 yards on the synthetic. His 2nd win on the turf, a mile and a 16th. $53,000 allowance race at Tampa. Then he comes here to Gulfstream, 2 stakes races, the Kitten's Joy where he gets 4th and the Colonel Liam where he gets 2nd. And in both of those races, he showed really good closing speed. His best buyer is only a 76, and his one and only dirt race, he finished 5th with a 67 buyer. So even though I love the Enterdadragon name, he's not one that I could see to be very competitive in this field. The number 8 horse is Bob Baffert's Madaket Road, and he will be ridden by not Tyler Gaffleone, but Mike Smith. Tyler Gaffleone has broken his ankle and will be off for a little while, and thank you to the viewer who gave me that heads up. 4 starts, 1 win, 2 places, and 1 show. And this horse started his career with a bang. Most horses start their career in a maiden race, but no, not Madaket Road. He went right to a G3, the G3 Bob Hope going 7 furlongs, and he held his own in that race. He really challenged Bullard, but Bullard got the best of him, and Madaket Road finishes 2nd. Then Bob Baffert gives him a bit of a break, sends him to Santa Anita for a 6 furlong maiden race, and in that race he was a clear favorite, 4 to 5, and clearly dominates that race with the win. Then goes to the Robert B. Lewis, his first route race. There, again, he stalked from the inside, but when he got to the top of the stretch, he flattened and finished 3rd. Next stop is the Rebel, a mile and a 16th, one of the best Derby prep races we saw. And he came out of that gate and set a blazing hot pace. And it looked like he was going to be the winner until Cole Battle said, "Hold my beer." And he went right to the lead, and Madaket Road came in second with a buyer of 90 that puts him in the top contenders of this field. I do want you to note that in all 4 races, he got right over to the rail, or he was on the rail. He never got off the rail. Shortest distance around the track. Can he get the distance? Well, he's by Quality Road, and Quality Road won at this distance, at this track, and also gave us City of Light, Abel Tasman, and also National Treasure, who won at this distance and longer. Also to note, Bob Baffert has taken the blinkers off, and his stats go from a 29% win rate to a 32% win rate when he takes the blinkers off. This is a serious contender on Saturday. The number 9 horse is Tappan Street, and Tappan Street is trained by Brad Cox and will be ridden by Luis Saez. Luis Saez has been on this horse for both of his wins. Yes, he's only had 2 races, but that means a lot of upside. He has 2 starts, a win, and a place. And his win came in a $65,000 main race, 7 furlongs, here at Gulfstream, where he won over Bob Moe by over a length. He then goes to the Holy Bull, a mile and a 16th, here at Gulfstream as the 8-5 favorite. Gets out of the gate well, but then gets kind of clunked between horses. Settles for 4th, stays wide, goes around the turn, makes a huge surge, has a great move, but Burnham Square just came rolling right by him. And unfortunately, Tappan Street finishes second behind Burnham Square. So what do I like about this horse? Well, 1, he's got a win at Gulfstream. Check. Next, I really like his pedigree. He's a $1 million purchase by Into Mischief, and Into Mischief is stamping his way through a lot of these horses on the Kentucky Derby Trail. So I think he could get the distance. Third, he seems to be in really good form. He's got a bullet work on 3:15. And 4th, he earned an 87 buyer in that last race. Now, I get it's not top like some of the other horses, but he only has 2 races, so he's got a lot of upside. And finally, we have to ask ourselves, will Sovereignty, the number 10 horse, rule the Kentucky Derby? Trained by Bill Mott, he doesn't have his regular rider. Junior Alvarado has a hairline fracture in his shoulder and will be out, so Manny Franco gets aboard. This horse has 4 starts, 2 wins, and 1 place. If you've seen any of my videos about Sovereignty, this will be a rinse and repeat. This horse was bred for the Kentucky Derby. He is by Into Mischief. Into Mischief has given us Kentucky Derby winners, Authentic and Mandaloon. His dam is Crowned. Crown Sire is Bernardini, a top router. And her dam was Mushka, who won the Demoiselle at a mile and an 1/8. So this horse was bred for the Kentucky Derby. Now let's talk about how he announced himself on the Kentucky Derby Trail. In the G3 Street Sense, where? At Churchill Downs. Take note of that. That's going to be important. In a mile and a 16th. He was a step slow coming out of the gate. He was dead last. He has this monster rally going 6 wide, and he wins by 5 lengths. And who did he win against? Tistastic, who just won the Louisiana Derby. Sandman, who's done so well in the Southwest. The Rebel, and is in the Arkansas Derby. So this horse has serious talent. Then he backs it up in the Fountain of Youth, a mile and a 16th here at Gulfstream Park. If you go back to my video analysis for that day, I didn't think he was going to do well. The very short stretch in his monster rally, I didn't think they went together. But I was wrong. He came out of the gate. He was extremely patient. He was dead last. And then he had this huge rally. He surges past River Thames. I thought River Thames was going to dance his way to the winner's circle, but Sovereignty said, oh, no, 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 and wins the race with a 95 buyer, the best we see in this field. There's 2 things, though, that give me a lot of pause. Manny Franco, can he ride this horse like Junior Alvarado rides this horse? And he's got to overcome post position 10, which is going to be a challenge. But make no mistake, he is a serious contender. Now it's your turn. Drop me a comment below. Tell me, who do you like in the Florida Derby? If this information has been useful, hit like, hit subscribe. Never miss out on my Kentucky Derby coverage. There is so much more to come. I hope you all find your winner on Saturday, but most of all, sashay away with your Monday. Until next time, cheers.